They are both at the top of the leaderboard here in Canmore, and tonight, folks, you're going to get a glimpse of Ontario taking on Northwest Territories. The team from Yellowknife is 6-1, facing off against the team from the Ottawa Curling Club, who are also 6-1. Good evening, I'm Darren McEwen alongside Gord Coppathorne for Draw 20 coverage from the Canmore Golf and Curling Club. It is a really good game we should have in store here tonight, Gord.
I'm looking forward to it. The ice is playing terrific today. Both of these teams have shown prowess in their games, so it should be a battle right to the eighth end.
Starting with Hammer in this first end is Team Ontario. They won the draw to the button in this pre-game practice. And we get a look here at Erica Hobson, the lead for Ontario. Ontario's rounded out by Kevin Tippett at second, Aaron Morrissey in third position, and the skip, Mike McLean.
So, a typical simple first end by the looks of it. They're gonna work out the curl. The sheet has been curling about 6 feet through most of the day, so give it a handful of rocks and it'll get up to speed and curl.
If you were with us earlier this afternoon, you got to enjoy the great game between Northwest Territories and Saskatchewan. You saw Megan Kohler as the lead from the team from the Yellowknife Curling Center. The rest of the team, second, Cole Parsons, the third, Margot Fleming, and the skip, Jamie Cooey. And they are, as I mentioned, 6-1. They finished their Pool A play in third place. And the big win earlier today over Saskatchewan really helped them out.
It was a well-fought game. It came down to last rock, and both teams had to pull a three. So it was a very enjoyable game to watch and call. They had a little bit of a nice opportunity there. They just rubbed the very edge of the guard, and it straightened it out for the hit.
If you're just joining us for the first time at this event, this is, as I mentioned, they started off with Pool A and B. The top 4 teams from those pools continued on. They crossed over into this championship pool, which this entire draw is featuring championship pool teams. The top 4 teams from the championship pool, there are 8 of the teams. The top 4 will move on to the playoffs on Sunday, where the first place team will play 4th, the second will play 3rd. Winners of those games will play for gold, losers for bronze on Sunday afternoon here in Canmore. Cole Parsons with his first to the first end.
We're already seeing the ice open up a little bit. They've added 3 or 4 inches with every single throw, so it's getting close to normal already.
Come on, Megan. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Just wicks the guard. Northwest Territories is throwing the Blue Rocks this game. They were the red. We were just talking before we came on air, Gord. It's a 4-sheet club. They've actually reduced it to 3 sheets for this to make sure that we have great seats for the fans. So you will find that teams will play back-to-back on the same sheets. That is common. It's not just Northwest Territories on this sheet. Ontario will play a back-to-back game on the same sheet as well, but you will be playing different colored rocks. So if you're watching from home and wondering why we get two Northwest Territories games in a row, that is the reason.
The draws are challenging, but as long as they're playing fair and giving everyone the same outcome, it's good. So we're splitting the house, trying to do a simple junior deuce, as they call it. The guard helps a bit.
Kevin Tippett nicely wraps that around the corner guard.
You'll see on these sheets with 6+ feet of curl, a lot of rocks actually poke out the opposite outside of a guard. So that one's easily accessible on either side that deep.
Real hard. 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 Hard.
All right, we're getting a little bit of a roll, so that's good. You get at least a corner buried so that any kind of hits pushing towards that red one at the back. Nice shot. There's enough curl that they'll be able to get to nose and get some motion underneath of the guard. This is setting up nicely for Ontario.
Kevin Tippett, he works at Baker Tilly, Ottawa, in the accounting firm, and they are the main sponsor of this Team McLean. I wanted to give a shout out to all the employees there who've supported them throughout the season.
Running a little light on the weight here. They're crossing center line, so you're going to be a little bit slower because they wouldn't have thrown many rocks there during practice. So with Hammer, you would have liked to have seen them make sure they were in, even if they just rattled things around. He didn't really want another corner there too badly. Cooey's going to go stick another one in there to pile up his under the guard, force them to one if possible.
Margot Fleming of the Northwest Territories had a wonderful game this afternoon.
It really came down to a game of partial misses and slight overthrows. I suspect we'll see much the same here.
Line's fine.
Keeping control of your misses is going to be a key thing here, and really managing your weight. You can afford to miss the broom a little bit on ice that's this swingy, but you really need to control your weight.
I think in a few of the games too, we've seen pretty consistently by the 7th, 8th, and if you go to an extra, it gets a little slower too. And whoever picks up on that, or at least picks up on how much slower it gets, especially on those key draws. We've seen in both the games earlier today that teams struggle later in the game with finding their draw weight.
For sure. It's losing around 4 to 6 feet through the last two ends, and that's hard to observe when you throw two rocks. So you really got to trust it's going to happen and talk to each other a lot.
Erin Morrissey with her first rock of this first end. Peels both those, peels one of them out and rolls the other Ontario stone into the house. Ontario now sitting 3rd and 4th shot.
It's still a pretty clean end, so either team scoring a point is going to be acceptable, frankly. In the first end, you just want to get out of it with a managed, well-controlled play.
Really got to go on this one.
So this is where you'll see the most motion on this sheet, is when you're coming in from the inner edge of the 12-foot. They really cut hard. Now we've got a huge pile of blues on this side. They can choose to throw some heat and move a bunch around, or just use them as a seat.
Good.
Hit some rocks is what they've chosen.
A little quiet, but thinking to be firm. It's curl there.
Aaron plays at both. Sorry, Gord. Aaron plays at both the Ottawa, representing the Ottawa Curling Club at this event, but also plays at the Rideau Curling Club. I know you and I both, having lived or live in Ottawa, know those clubs.
Yes, I've had the pleasure of frequenting them both. I now do all my curling in the Calgary area, but I quite enjoyed Ottawa curling.
I will check my biases. As a member of the Ottawa Curling Club, I feel like I have to fully disclose that to sort of start. But knowing Jamie and the Northwest Territories as well, so. Good shot there by Aaron. Leave her shooter in the 8-foot.
So now Jamie just needs to figure out how to get that red one out safely. It doesn't really matter if he loses one of those two blues, as long as he's staying for two. There's a potential of a return double, but there's a lot of rocks in the same space.
I think one of the things too with Northwest Territories earlier today too is they communicated so well as a team, both on shots, but between the shots, Jamie, getting input from the front end, talking about the weight, talking about the strategy. They really, and you've noticed with these teams that have one or two lost, they have that kind of just that extra communication advantage, if you will.
Like a tiny bit of the rock.
And you can even tell when some players have played together a lot over a long time, kind of a thing. A lot of it just happens naturally.
Whoa. Whoa.
Jamie Cooey been to 14 Tim Hortons Briars.
Clean pick, that's acceptable. I'm not sure if he feels he can make the double. Might get all three rocks moving, that's fine too. He's certainly lining it up to almost nose straight back double. May lose the back red one.
I was talking to this Ontario team earlier today. They've really enjoyed the ice. Credit to the ice makers here at the Canmore Golf and Curling Club. A lot of swing to the ice, but consistent.
Absolutely. The whole sheet is predictable. The weights are manageable. The changes are not abrupt. Like you really can't ask for a better sheet of ice.
This is Mike's second trip to a national mixed championship, having gone before to Toronto a few years ago representing Ontario. Just like you called, Gord.
But it did move the red one out, so that's a great shot. I assume Jamie's going to try the straight back, double back. This is very much his forte. He's got that inside-out release, so his rocks run incredibly straight, especially out on the outer edge of the rink. One advantage that Jamie's actually going to have is the fan side or the outside of this sheet. It breaks a little bit later. It still curls hard, but the break point is later, so he'll have a little bit of advantage for a few rocks until the rest of the teams pick that up.
Jamie Cooey in his last stone of the first end. Ontario having hammer.
Hard! Whoa! Okay, we're going over the top.
He's trying to drag it out.
Oh, there we go.
Does. And Ontario, rather Northwest Territories left sitting one. So a chance for a blank here in the opening end for Mike McLean. Great replay there. Friends at IKS Live doing a great job all this week, getting right into the action. Bring you up close as some of our fans. And by the way, it's been a great day here with fans. I think only more fans will be joining us as we enter closer to the playoffs in Canmore.
It is certainly curling worth watching. It has been an excellent show of gamesmanship.
Does he have it?
Yep, outside clear.
With that sort of weight, you can almost hit nose and still get the blank. So we start with a blank in the opening end. This is not obviously the only game happening. There was a blank on sheet B, Northern Ontario and British Columbia. Northern Ontario coming into this with a 5-1 record. BC at 4-2, and they're still wrapping up the first end on sheet C. It's Saskatchewan versus Manitoba. You can get all the live scores at curling.ca/scoreboard. Saskatchewan dropping that loss earlier today to the Northwest Territories to go to 4-3. Manitoba is at 3-4 with 4 losses. You're probably on the outside looking in at this point, but stranger things have happened, and there's still tomorrow and Saturday to finish off this championship pool.
So in this afternoon's game, we saw a lot of the early end guards sliding in. So we'll see if they learn from that.
Curling art.
Going for a tight guard.
Line's okay. I think it'll dig. I hope.
Well, the sweepers did a lot of looking and judged wisely. So we saw a lot of teams so far playing around center guards when you have hammer. He's choosing basically to play defense and try to just push them both into the house so we can hit something next time. It would appear that Ontario is willing to be patient this game.
Ontario, as I said, have a 6-1 record. They came into this with wins over the Yukon, Prince Edward Island, Newfoundland and Labrador, British Columbia, New Brunswick. They did drop a game earlier this week to Saskatchewan.
Not a lot of weight or line on this rock, so they're probably going to be switching to just straight draw at this point in time. Get the rock into the house if their game plan is to keep the rock count down. Well, a partial corner guard. It can be used by either team, frankly. It'll be useful for the red later on. Nice short run back, if nothing else. So there's plenty of curl in this ice. So even though this guard is really tight to the house, you will completely, if not overbury, if you're not careful.
Megan Kohler and her team, as we said, with a 6-1 record. They came in with wins over Quebec, Nunavut, Nova Scotia, Manitoba, Alberta. They did lose last night to Northern Ontario. We mentioned they won earlier today in their first championship pool game against Saskatchewan.
You got to go for weight, I think.
This is looking like a real nice draw to the top of the 4 foot.
Head down, go.
Head down and go, Jamie's saying.
Good brush. Good shot.
Great shot by Megan Kohler. There's only one player on this sheet of ice without national experience before this week, and that is Erica Hobson. This is her first national championship, and she is very excited to be here. Erica actually suffered a pretty serious concussion a few years ago, was basically sidelined from curling, reduced her curling schedule, and to see her back out here is pretty awesome for her to be back to 100% and competing at this level especially.
Okay, we're going for a freeze. Looks a little on the warm side, but bumping the blue farther into the house is going to be okay. Well, at least it's in the hole. And Cooey's going to be inclined to deal with that rock deep in the house. So you're still not in danger, though scoring 2 is going to take some work.
Whoa! Clean, yep! Whoa, yep! Whoa! Yep!
He apparently likes it.
Whoa.
On, off, on, off, on, off.
Little roll.
Well, there's some backing there. There's also a double through the hole, which, you know what, if you miss it and you peel guards, it's not gonna cause you any hurt either. You can even roll under your more or less corner guard. Oh, reconsidering. Okay, they've dropped it down to normal, which is still plenty of weight to move 2 rocks and roll under the guard. This is aiming it. Well, they might get it by the guard. Nope, not quite. But at least you're taking the center line guard off, which is the right way to manage that shot.
Guard this one! Guard this guy!
So Jamie's electing to put the guard back up, preferably pinch that hole completely off. His rocks are behind the tee line, but with a center guard, you're forcing them to earn their points through draws.
What do you got?
Cole Parsons, he's been to
Looks real long.
2 Tim Hortons Briars
Oh! Keep going! Straight! Straight!
as a player.
Okay, let it dig.
Looks like a pretty good guard to me.
Okay, cool.
It's high enough that you can certainly play around it with a board weight hit if you wished. If you were to drop it down to, say, hacker back line, you could probably even roll a little bit to the left under the guards. So that's basically what he's attempting, is get as close to nose, if not a little bit more than that. If you flop in front of the blue one, that's also acceptable. There's lots of ways to make this one work in your favor. Just don't overthrow it. A little bit over the top with his release, so they're going to have to work to keep it there. Certainly not heavy. Plan B, straight draw. A little heavy for the draw, a little light for the bump.
Top button. Pull 4.
So now Jamie with the
Keep it
center
high.
guard is going to aim for the top 4. A little bit short of it's not going to be a bad thing. Anything that plugs up the center line further.
Line's good. Where is it? Hard then.
So they're calling 4, which means
Where is
top
it?
12. So they're going to work hard to try to get it down into the 8-foot. And with any luck, just show a little
curl
piece
it.
of
No,
it
let's
to
get
take
hard.
the 4-foot button away.
Whoa, 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 you're not there.
It's going to come up light, but
Good sweep. Good. It's a good spot.
It's still a usable rock. The button is hard to reach when it's in the top of 12 like that. I'm curious if Ontario is going to start getting into cleanup mode or keep going with the draw. They could make a corner freeze, but cleaning out the front is going to make it a little easier for them for a couple rocks.
Erin Morrissey with her first stone on the second end. guard.
A little less of a roll than
Guard
they were going
yours.
for. I suspect they would like
that
just
two?
completely cleared it out, but it's okay for covering that red one they have.
2 or
If
tighter,
they can
yeah.
get anything else in underneath there, would be good. But Jamie's just going to keep throwing guards. His objective at this point would be to try to force them to draw the button basically on their last.
Hard line.
Winner of this event here in Canmore will go on to represent Canada at the World Mixed Curling Championships, which is slated for
Curl.
October
curl it.
15th to 22nd in
Keep going.
Aberdeen, Scotland.
Come on, Megan, get us to center. Come on, Megan, keep
And,
going, keep going,
this
keep going,
one
keep going,
is-
keep going, keep going. Steven, guys.
Good shot there by Margot. Canada will be looking for its third in a row gold medal at that event. It's a relatively new world championship, actually, just having started back in 2015. Canada winning 2 of the 5, 2 in a row.
So Ontario is going to continue with cleaning out the front. Sooner or later, one of these two teams is probably going to go into the 4-foot, but cat and mouse for now. Well, that was a very nice outcome, doubling off that second guard. So now, technically, both sides of the 4-foot are opened up a bit. That'd be a tight draw through the
Worried about that one there?
crowd side of the sheet, or through the Marys.
Yeah, the left side of, as you're looking at your screen now.
Come in and let him hammer it.
So this is what I was getting at, is one of the two of them is eventually going to
This is your
decide,
here,
I'm
right?
going to own the
Like,
button.
odds are you're
Right.
here. You might be able to get everything going again, right?
So what Jamie's saying is if he goes in now, then Ontario's just going to
Yes, I
drive
guess.
that short blue one in hard and try to get as much
his guard.
moving as he can. If he throws another guard,
Fine.
then Ontario may go for the draw right away, but then you actually got a chance to cap it off and force them to one.
Yeah. Well, if he makes this, though, then we're just.
Yeah.
Yeah. But is he ever here? And we might. Are we ever in trouble of this 4 scoring if we don't hit it? Probably not if we guard, right? Okay. I like a tighter guard, though.
So there you go. He's basically said, I accept that he could make the freeze and I can limit the damage. He prefers that over all the rocks getting moved with a peel weight hit.
It's just he's
That
drawing
brings
now,
in
right?
the 2
Absolutely.
more likely into question, or
No,
into play.
we're either guarding that. We're either guarding the run. We can't guard both.
Can't guard both.
Do you? We're calling the guard.
Okay, so now they're having the conversation because the front end saying, we like the look of the draw.
Yeah.
Big time.
And it comes down to what you think Ontario's most likely to make. So they're sticking with the guard.
Felt like a lot. Felt like a lot. Whoa, Cole.
He's
Whoa,
way
Cole.
out there and a little
Oh, that's
warm. They may
heavy.
be switching plans here
Yeah,
shortly.
might be
Where
able
is
to
it? Are you in? Hard.
And there's plan
go
B.
for it now, yeah.
Curl.
We might be able to get it right in there.
Curl.
That's a pretty good plan B, Gord.
That is exactly what he thought he might call.
Jamie, I don't know if you can see it. Jamie just kind of stood there for a second and looked at the situation. Pretty good result.
So there you go. If he makes this run back a little bit on the high side so that he's hitting to the broom holder's left side of the one on the button, you can actually get all 4 rocks moving, and you could theoretically be sitting 2. It would be an excellent shot, but it is there.
Just want to make sure you don't come across the face on this one, right? I mean, you can hit any way
Yes.
to open it up, but as we look at it here, you don't want to jam it into your own and leave something
Sure
up there.
could. Leave it a little bit short and it piles into your
Yeah.
red one. If you over curl and it just hits the top blue hard, you're not going to get the rocks out of the 4-foot.
So a big shot early for Mike McLean in this second end, looking to open things up, give him a chance to score.
Getting a little close to the nose.
He hits nose, jams it, and Northwest Territories still sitting 2.
Nose isn't any good. I don't think. What about rolling in? What's that?
So they're spending a lot of time looking at that back red one, thinking get rid of it, and then they can't score multiple.
Roll out the run doubles only for one, right?
Rolling anywhere is fine, really.
With a bit of weight, I think, eh?
There's
Seeing you out with like normal,
there's
though.
plenty of blues in the house to be a force rock.
I like a little less.
So they're basically saying, get rid of this red one, let them do a run back and see what they can score. Some hard attempt at one.
I think just normal.
Yeah, I like normal.
We want to roll in a bit.
Rolling in
Can I roll into our
hopefully
blue or
makes
no?
a catcher for that blue one. So if he could actually put it even with that other blue one and
It's
make
the better
kind of a
shot to roll
diamond
into the
shape,
blue
then
and
it's going to be
bump the
really
blue
hard to get
out.
the blue out.
Yeah, that's what Jamie's just asking Margot. If can he do that? And he wants to take a look to make sure
It
that
makes
he
takes away that backing, right?
can do it. I think he can.
Okay, I still think it's normal weight, but what are you trying to hit? Like 3/4?
Yeah, so picture a diamond created out of the three blue
Take
rocks.
the roll. If I bump the
You
blue
would
over.
love to see that kind of a shape so that there's no good angle to get it out.
Ontario would be in a real pickle there if they weren't able to make this shot. Jamie Cooey with his final rock of the second end. Already sitting 2, looking to sit 3 in some fashion when he's finished with
Megan!
this.
This is a
Megan!
solid normal
Oh,
weight.
no, Megan! Whoa!
Hit, roll,
Nice
and
shot,
just
nice
like
shot.
that.
So now Ontario is going to be really hard pressed to score a point with that particular roll. The run back has been nullified completely. So they're just looking strictly at the draw.
And if you use the backing, you're probably not going to be shot, but you'd probably cut down Northwest Territories to just a steal of 1 if you were to have to use the backing.
That's pretty much the only way. If you play to the backing, you probably are going to be too deep. You're just going to get a small part of the button, which isn't going to be enough. So shot rock is cold draw to the side. But yes, giving up 1 right now is a definitely acceptable outcome.
I don't believe Mike played a draw in the first end, did he? I'm not sure.
I don't recall him throwing a draw.
Mike McLean, his final rock of the second end, facing 3 Northwest Territories counters.
So now if you overthrow this, you're going to push it through too much of the break, and you may actually spin off
This
the blue
isn't
one.
curled yet. It was at least in the 13s for time hog to hog. That's going to rub off, and it's going to be a steal of 2 for the team from the Yellowknife Curling Center, and Jamie Cooey and his foursome will jump out to a 2-0 lead. In our other matchups tonight, all championship pool games, Northern Ontario cracked a 2 in the second end. They're up 2-0 on British Columbia. And still waiting for the score to go up in our Saskatchewan-Manitoba game, but after the first end, Manitoba was leading 1-0. It looks like Manitoba is, well, they either blanked or they scored. I missed it, but they are throwing first. So you can get all the scores at curling.ca/scoreboard and find out the team rosters on there, draw times, as well as the standings. And I will say it's fast. They're just hanging the score there. It was a blank, so it's still 1-0 for Manitoba playing the third end.
Compliments to all the umpires that are helping out with this event. Back to the center guard plan.
Megan Kohler with her first stone of this third end. Megan's made 7 Scotties Tournament of Hearts appearances. So a veteran of national exposure. She also curled at the 2007 Canadian Junior Curling Championship, skipping her own team representing the territories.
Jamie's getting some exercise on this rock, and they're going to just drag it down tight or even in. You just stole 2. You're happy to go into the house and make them chase you for a while. Put it in the forefoot. So that'll force a corner guard. They need to generate some offense. So let's rope a corner guard and see if they can't find an opportunity to roll underneath or get a draw in.
That task will be Erica Hobsons. She's a lawyer for the Department of Justice. Originally from Northern Ontario, Timmins is where she grew up and moved to Ottawa a number of years ago.
It's looking like it'll be a little bit on the long side. The cross center line, so you went through a lot of unused pebble again. You find most of the time you got about a half second at tops, quarter to a half second slower when you're going across the center line out to the wing. It's a perfectly good guard, though. It's covering the outer part of the 8-foot.
Wall line.
So part of the reason Cooey did things the way they did is to see if the other team will chase you. You're not against a nice, clean, easy, calm end. So you throw your first one in the house, and if they hit you, well, then you just exchange hits for 16 rocks. If they then throw up the corner guard, well, then you go, okay, and throw your guard back up, which is exactly what we're seeing here.
Good.
They also did a good job of showing the right half of this blue rock. So red's now going to go and throw a corner freeze, but any kind of action you play on it later is going to spin them away from their own guard. It would have been really easy to over-curl that center guard and show them the inner half, which brings that corner guard into play. So there's the late break. It's coming across nicely now. Good weight. A little bit short of the freeze, but again, they've actually created the angle, which will direct it under that corner guard if they ever get an opportunity to raise it. So excellent throw. Jamie's now going to corner freeze back to try to break up some of the angles.
Line's good. Hard line. Hard everything. Where are you?
Looks
Whoa.
light.
Yeah, he's making another guard out of this.
Curl it, curl it, curl it, curl it. Get off of that. Get off of that. Get over there. Get over there.
So what Cooey's doing there is he's making sure they're not overlapped so that he can use either of them if he gets into trouble. If he'd have overlapped those, you'd be tempted to call it good, but they're your rocks. You want to be able to use them if it comes to that. Ontario's taking a moment to debate about how to picture the next 3 or 4 rocks. That's what you saw there. You always need to be a few rocks ahead of yourself. So he's thinking, if I have a rock on both sides of this blue one, then I'm looking really good.
Will not meet, or at least at this event, not meet a bigger fan of the boss than this guy that's throwing right now. Kevin Tippett has been to over 30 Bruce Springsteen concerts in his life and met the boss apparently briefly once.
So that's a good read on the ice. Not overthrown, gonna have a little bit of a bounce. So, yeah, Cooey will probably hit it to get rid of it, but it's not going to, you know, even if he rolls to the middle, he's now grouping his rocks, which gives opportunities for a double later if you open up the front. A foot lighter would have been ideal.
At some point, we have to work in a Bruce Springsteen song title or lyric. I'm Googling that right now.
I will leave that to your abilities.
It might be in 6 more ends before I find one.
Yes! Yes!
Cole Parsons is
Real
trying to play the
hard,
hit and roll
Garbo!
here. He's got a
lot of curl going
Really,
here.
really hard.
might
He's
catch
gonna be
one on the way
hitting them both.
by.
Rolling it hard. Sit down.
Hitting them both.
To
All right,
sit
Cole.
2 still.
Good throw.
Actually, not a bad outcome. Your red-blue pair at the front haven't really changed any, but now you've snuck a blue one at the back there for, you know, force perhaps later. It is backing if they want to draw to, but that's kind of in the middle of the hole, which is a hard draw to make. So Ontario's just going to clean up and see if they can't generate it to a more natural way. You might see Vic Rauter's favorite shot here of the backwards curl.
And yep,
Yep,
up it
there it goes.
Up to the Canmore rafters. Upstream it went. Kevin, actually, we called a game earlier today between Prince Edward Island and Nova Scotia. Kevin played at a junior nationals for New Brunswick. He's originally from New Brunswick, and he curled with Jamie Newson, who was the skip from Prince Edward Island. He was actually on the third on that New Brunswick team. And Kevin actually was the first team all-star at that junior nationals. I believe it was the rest of the first team was all Newfoundland and Labrador with Brad Gushu's rank. So had a very strong showing as a lead at juniors. Moved to Ontario a number of years ago. And another Ontario native here is Margot Fleming. She recently moved to the Northwest Territories to study her PhD as well as curl with Carrie Galusha. And what a season they've had so far.
Hold it out there! Just cool! Just cool!
So they're just going to keep applying pressure, throw up another center guard, tempt Ontario into spending more rocks, hitting things out of the middle.
Yep! Whoa! There you go.
Again, covering the proper side of that rock in the top of the house. Ontario is getting rather uncomfortable at this point in time. 4 rocks left, and you still don't have control of any particular zone of the house yet.
We're gonna bump this on the nose. Just off nose. Big air. Just the top 4 weight.
So he's trying to over curl and bump his own to shot rock.
I think he said, what, top 4 way?
Yes.
That will be tasked with Erin Morrissey. She's a strategy and business management analyst at the Bank of Canada.
Judging by the sweepers, she's a little warm with this weight.
Both of them with their hands up.
And warm really makes the break point later than you expect, and you hit off of where you need to on pretty much anything because it just breaks so much later. So now they're just going to try to rearrange.
These rocks are nicely buried.
Not a bad arrangement. You have the potential to still get at that blue one. It's not ideal. You also made a bit of a port, or not a port, but like a path that you can see the blue rock now go traveling down and be cornered under all of that stuff if you wanted.
Gotta cover these reds a bit.
Yeah, so Kui recognizes that those 2 reds are a problem because they will hit that blue one, so he's happy to just plug it up in some form or another.
Hold it out there a bit.
So
What do you got? 3?
Margot's got a nice
Hold it out there.
guard weight again, so that allows the sweepers to decide what they want to do.
Easy. Whoa, got a curl. Curl.
So what you don't want to do is freeze it to the red ones because that'll just make it easier.
Whoa. Gotta get away from that.
Now it's curling. All right. That's not bad. Not bad.
Yeah, it'd be hard for Ontario to get rid of both those and lose a shooter, so.
Yes. So now we're back to trying to peel guards to try to encourage enough of a miss out of Northwest Territories that you can do something. So far, Jamie and company haven't missed much, so they're doing everything they can to try to get something.
It's been a lot of chasing these last 2 ends for Ontario.
Yep. Hard, real hard.
Rearranges a couple of the rocks in the house, and Ontario is now second shot.
So they have got themselves up to second, but they left a blue guard right in the middle of their draw path as well as the hit path. So Jamie most likely will just keep plugging it all up.
What's that?
They have no reason to get cute. They could hit the red one, but you risk hitting your own along the way.
You know what I'm saying? There's not a lot of room low there, no? Do you like it, or?
That was my first time. I mean, I don't know what else you do. Do you just put one up there? Like that?
So, do you try to sneak in a blue right there to push the red out and sit 3, which will give them a path into the house, or just throw up another guard and say, you figure out how to get in? I think that's what they've ultimately decided on. I like that. That was my first preference. Plug that hole and make Ontario figure out how to get their rock into the 4-foot.
On the hit, but it's tough.
Yeah.
Right now, they have a really long tap.
Yeah.
So they're going to be having to move rocks to give themselves some choices on their last rock. I would think even with the other one is probably the ideal depth.
Don't jump it. Just clean. Two's perfect. No, it's got to curl a bit. No, I'm
Two
okay.
is the call. Sorry,
Clean it.
Gord.
Yeah, two is about even with the other one. Because if they're dead even, then there's really not a double because the shooter will stay in the hole.
Hard!
It needs to curl too, though.
Hard!
There it goes.
Well, they definitely plugged the hole. Not an easy double take or double peel.
McLean lining up run back onto the blue into the red to try and sit two, at least move things around in that 8 foot.
I don't disagree that this shot is there. I personally would use this rock to open something up again and leave that there for after he puts another rock as a guard. If you happen to miss this one, then he's getting a free shot to plug it up even worse, and then you're looking at that 30-foot tap. So I would personally like to see them open it up one more time. Sweep call was early, but now they're off, so it's got to be close.
Close, yeah. And that does it. Oh, where does that spin? Okay, so Northwest Territories still sitting shot at the back 8 foot, but it is much more open now for the Ontario rink to try and generate a point or two.
Gonna be in there.
They also opened up a draw pass to the 4 foot, which is both good and bad.
Yeah.
They can get into the 4 foot, but so can Jamie.
Yeah.
So I suspect Jamie will just try to put this one top button area and
like
say,
same?
outdraw me.
Same line as close.
Mike took some water off the beans there. Made things a little easier for him, but still has some work to do, especially if Jamie Cooey makes a nice one here.
And Jamie's been throwing a lot of draw style shots lately, so he should be pretty comfortable with this. You know, even if you put this full 8 foot and partially open, any kind of play on it rolls you away, and that back blue one could still end up being a counter.
But gotta be in the house for sure. You don't want to be heavy or chap off anything here because Ontario can see that blue one at the back.
Absolutely. If this isn't 8 foot of some persuasion, he would have a hit for 3.
Nothing to it yet by the front end of Kohler and Parsons, and this is gliding. Where will it stop?
A lot of watching.
Sit.
McLean will sweep it just to the back of the 4 foot. Jamie not happy with it, but it's not going to be a multiple point option for Ontario. Mike McLean will need to find a healthy portion of the 4 foot, if not the button, to get his point and get on the board.
I can understand Jamie's frustration there. This end was working well for them the whole way through, and he's 2 feet off of a really good opportunity to steal, but those 2 feet were big.
Mike McLean, his final stone of this third end, looking to get Ontario on the board, facing 2 Northwest Territories counters.
Sweepers are once again not confident with the weight.
This really needs to get over there and slow down. It's coming in though. Have enough? No, it'll be a steal, another steal of 1 for the Northwest Territories. A good try by Mike McLean, but the team from Yellowknife moves ahead 3-0 after 3 ends. Updating you on our other games right now, it is Northern Ontario leading 2-1 over British Columbia, BC picking up a single in the third end, and Saskatchewan got on the board with 2 points in the third. They now lead Manitoba's Alex Forrest and his foursome from Winnipeg. The score there 2-1 for Saskatchewan. Back to our feature game, and it's a 3-0 lead for Northwest Territories. This game has massive playoff implications, even though we're just Thursday night. Playoffs don't start until Sunday, but both these teams with just one loss, the other team with one loss being Northern Ontario, and Northern Ontario and Ontario still have to play each other as well. So the winner of this game will have a good chance of seeing action on Sunday, I would think.
Line's good, though.
So
Line's good.
we're just going to
Curl
repeat
it,
last
yes.
end. Put it in the top of the house, worked well, so why change? This one looks a little bit shorter than where they were looking for, but it'll be in the house.
Hard,
It's
make
good.
it guardable. 8 foot, 8 foot, 8 foot, 8 foot. Make it guardable. Good sweep, boys. And girl.
So you see what he was saying there is if it's in the house but just 12 foot, you're not going to exhaust a guard on it. It's not a meaningful rock. You're now into the land of taps. So by getting it tighter to the 4 foot, you can throw your center guard on the next one and still create pressure out of it. So corner guard going up again. Going for the B in Brewery by the looks of his broom.
Canmore Brewery and Distillery, one of our local sponsors here. We want to give a big shout out to all the local sponsors. Tourism Canmore, Kananaskis, Mary's Popcorn. I know my broadcast colleague Al Cameron was really excited to try some of that. It's a locally owned business here by some curlers. Visions Electronics, Canmore Golf and Curling Club here. Beautiful facility. They've done a wonderful job hosting us. Rome Transit, Canmore Brewery and Distillery, as I mentioned, Canmore Raft Tours, El Taquino Tequila, Golf Design Services Limited, and Moosehead Breweries. So big thank you to all those local sponsors for making the Canadian Mixed a really enjoyable experience for both the fans and, of course, the players here in Canmore.
Small mistake here. The guard slid into the house. So now he actually has the ability to get a rock behind the tee line and also roll under his own guard. So those are two useful approaches for trying to generate offense with hammer.
Erica Hobson, she actually plays mixed doubles a bit with Kevin the second on this team, and I think there's a lot of, we've seen so many rocks in play in all these games, but these ends too, that it really helps you even as a front end player to be better equipped to understand the angles, understand the strategy as well.
I encourage a lot of the players I work with to play mixed doubles so that you can get comfortable with a lot of draws and a lot of angles and just moving rocks around instead of just always looking to throw hits at stuff. It does make you appreciate the game from a very different perspective.
Cole, throw it a 7.
Yeah, there's quite a few players here in their respective provinces and territories who also play the discipline.
That's a 7, right?
Tomorrow night, I believe we're going to be joined by one of the best in the broadcast booth to play mixed doubles, John Morris, Olympic gold medalist, of course, in Pyeongchang. Lives right here in Canmore.
So I'm not sure if that last guard was entirely intentional. When the skip put his broom down, he had indicated moving the two blues, but they ended up with a nice corner guard. So if it was not intentional, good backup.
You got to cross center, though. Hard. Hard, curl. Right across. Go, 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 go. Good, 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 good.
Okay, they're doing a great job with their guards. They have absolutely nailed them time and time again. That's making things very difficult on Ontario. So this run back, if done right, is going to be fairly good for yourself because you're also going to roll out of the way. But at the very least, you need to keep the middle open. That's really what this is about.
He's on the front guard, but I don't know if it's going to come up. Just comes up to move them around, rearrange them, move the shot stone to be at least behind the tee line now.
And they're not frozen, so now you can get things moving a little better in the future with, heavy draws or hack weight kind of shots. It does feel a lot like last end where there's going to be a lot of busy down the middle in Ontario, playing from behind.
Right there.
Once again, this worked last end. Why change now? Throw another guard up.
Yeah, I feel like Ontario hasn't missed a lot, but it's just Northwest Territories has made, so many shots in this game, and Ontario has had to chase and a few half shots here and there so far.
They're doing a fantastic job of two things. The team without hammers starts with control in the end, and they're executing their simple shots very well, forcing Ontario to play harder shots. It's an absolute recipe for success.
Hard.
As we say that, this one needs to move over to the center line.
You're close. Go everything. Go
Fleming
everything.
and Kohler are
Okay,
really
good,
leaning
good,
on
good,
it, and I think
good.
they'll close the gap just enough to guard those two stones that are counting.
We haven't seen too many under-curled rocks today, so that was a nice one. So now McLean has decided, okay, no more hitting guards. Let's try to draw. So, well, now we're considering the hit again. I kind of like the idea of keeping the middle open and clean. Like you have to get to a point where you're giving yourself a viable shot for at least one this end, because you need to stem this kind of onslaught of offense from Jamie. So this is a scenario where you're putting your own rock into the house, or at the least opening things up again.
Close. Misses the top one, but does open it up.
So the temptation for Jamie is to really put the pedal down and tap his middle blue one.
Right
But
here?
I suspect he'll keep throwing guards.
Side the red's fine.
I would be disinclined to get greedy and then give them an opportunity to recover. I think I would just keep steadily keeping the pressure on them.
As a player too, when you get in the hack, throwing a guard, you just feel like you have a little bit less pressure to make the shot, even though it's still important and it's hard to make guards on this ice. But
Whoa, line's good.
You just made every lead in the
Let's get
country
myself.
happy with
Clean
that. A real appreciation for the art of throwing a guard.
yeah, for sure.
Just light clean.
And Margot
Okay,
does
good shot.
just that. A little deeper than maybe they wanted, but does the trick for sure. Might now have a chance for Morrissey to move some granite around in the house with this one.
I could see him playing his last red guard, because you now have 3 blues basically you can aim it at. He's electing to go with the straight back on the blue. They're all in a line, so you could get them all moving.
Yep. Hard.
Little inside on the line.
Hard.
Hopefully going to go and play it basically backwards, go across the top. Over curled. So nothing really changed there.
Same thing.
So rinse and repeat.
Hair loss, if anything.
So you're saying a little bit higher wouldn't be a bad thing. But you're absolutely right. Northwest Territories is playing from a position of comfort right now. And you can even tell in Mike's body language that it's awkward for them to try to navigate all of these rocks.
Okay. Clean.
I talked to
Clean on it.
Jamie a little bit after the last game. He was a little bit, I mean, they won the game, but he said like they still have a lot more in them to show than what they did in that last game. And I thought they played well. I mean, the first part of the game, it was a bit of chasing from Northwest Territories at points, but I think they're probably, I don't have percentages on these games, but I feel like just the nature of the shots they're having to play, the degree of difficulty is much lower than Northwest Territories had to play earlier today. So they're you know, if we had stats on this, it'd be a lot higher than I think we saw earlier today. So, and that's going to feel good. They're off all tomorrow, by the way, Northwest Territories. So 2 games today, and what a way to start the championship pool against two tough provinces. A lot of work still to do. They're only up 3.
So we're trying to navigate this little port with a draw. And we're not quite enough broom, not quite enough weight. And unfortunately, we've kind of clogged it up even more. So now, Jamie has the ability to choose whatever he wants to. There is no major risk. So I suspect he'll probably just draw around everything and put more rocks in the house.
I don't know if you caught the corner of Jamie's eye as he tapped. He was putting a draw there, and he kind of looked up at that rock very right of your screen there by the microphone. I think he was looking, he's still kind of eyeing it up as like, that might be a rock that could come into play, but
won't be heavy.
there's also reds over on the
anything, eh?
other side that McLean could
give me
use. But
outside.
I mean, the degree of difficulty is quite high right now for Ontario to get something in there.
An in-off of this thing is very his brother-esque.
Yeah.
I've lost many matches because of that shot, but that's not the number one. Like,
Yeah, he's
you've got
got
rocks here that are useful. You could probably even draw around this way because there's enough of a path. Like, there are actually still paths into the house before you're playing in-off.
Can't crash.
But yes, I'm sure he remembered his days of playing with Kevin and going, I've seen that before.
Yeah.
I like it. Just 5.
Jamie wants this one to be top
you got
8 foot,
room.
top 4 foot. Sweeper's
Mine's good,
calling a
though.
5, which would be
Mine's real
exactly
good.
where that
Hard.
is.
Not a lot of rocks out here, so you could see the ice be a little heavier.
Mine's good.
This was a key path for Cooey
Wait
in the
on Lee.
last game, making a couple of
Wait on Lee.
important shots down that path,
Whoa,
making
gotta
one
sit down.
beautifully, and was a little bit heavy in
Whoa,
his
it's gotta
last
sit.
one, but that one is pretty good. Jamie Cooey will sit
rush,
1,
guys.
2, and 3 right now.
That looks
Without.
almost exactly the same as the shot you were referring to.
Yeah, they made a beautiful freeze in that last game to score in the 4th end.
So if I'm Ontario, I'm really identifying that right side of the sheet as our only hope. So I'd be, I can see where he's going with this straight back, but even if he opens it up, he's not going to have a whole lot left. I would be almost inclined to look at this rock over here
Yeah.
and push it this way. Because even if you don't necessarily get shot rock out of it, it opens that side up for a draw path.
Yeah, there's another one too that you can't see in that shot there that's a little higher up. It also might open up the draw path if you were to not make contact with a blue stone in the house. But
And the catchers in this particular scenario are all kind of weirdly staggered, like the Colleen Jones Christmas tree.
Yeah.
So it's going to deflect a lot of rocks.
He can
I think
get
you had
shot.
a bigger target with the rocks from the other half of the sheet.
you can get to this, but this is, unfortunately for Ontario, it's just going to stick right there and not change too much of the dynamic of the house, other than Northwest Territories is probably going to have to, I was going to say guard, but they might come right in there to really put the pressure on.
Well, it's very interesting. You could literally put another one on top of your own and really put the gears,
Yeah.
but you're then acknowledging that
here, though?
all of those reds on the right half of the sheet could be brought in. The other thing he could actually do is attempt to get a blue one. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see it, but you
guys wanna
could
go in
get
again, or no?
something in blue to try to trap off this part of the sheet. There's
No, I don't like going in.
because there's a guard just outside of our screen that's a nice playable rock. So I would leave those for them as well and probably
more.
throw this same draw. But that is
Gotta be way under. Do
Ontario's
you want to throw it in turn?
best potential is that
I like this.
that
Way
middle
too low.
guard and the brewery sign.
Northwest Territories, their final rock of this 4th end. The Territory looking for its
I don't think so. I think it's lots.
7th win of this
not in,
championship and would be looking for its first national curling crown
Well, one's good. Clean it.
if they can keep things rolling this week.
Whoa. Clean. Whoa. Whoa. Let it dig. Let it dig. Let it dig. Let it dig.
And a good result there for Cooey to block off that side of the sheet for Ontario to try and score. So what
Absolutely.
will
That
Mike
side is
McLean-
definitely dead.
Yeah, so Gord, what does Mike do here?
So there's almost a belly flop.
Mike's laughing. You can't see it, but he's laughing too.
He caught himself.
Good.
So the rock he tried to plow into is his best opportunity. You're basically just doing some attempt at, you could either do it as a tap or a light hit to just drive it into the 4-foot. The back blue is actually a catcher for it. So I'm assuming he's basically going to do that as a raise. I don't think the draw path is open to try to get around everything.
Yeah, he's an engineer in his day job, but he might have a career in tap dancing after that. I'm impressed he stayed on 2 feet, one with a slider on, but Ontario needs a bit of magic here. They're facing 3 Northwest Territories counters. Mike McLean on his last, trying to run an Ontario stone into the pile of granite in the middle.
So he's picking the low red one and the steeper angle, which again, there's lots of blue catchers.
He's made contact. Will he cut them down? Not
Valiant effort. Little thin. Just a little thin.
He may have just cut them down to 2. Yeah, I think it's just 2 for the Northwest Territories and a 5-0 lead as we head to the 4th end break. We'll be back with continued coverage of the 2021 Canadian Mixed Curling Championship here live from the Canmore Golf and Curling Club as Team Northwest Territories takes on Team Ontario.
One might say I was born to overcome challenges. 2 months premature, in and out of the hospital, and a heart condition. My parents call me their miracle baby. As with all survivors, I searched for my place in this world, and I found it here. This pebbled ice is where I battle now, and at only 12, I am already a 5-year veteran of this sport. I have my sights set on the Olympics. I will push hard to get there. The only size that matters in this sport is the size of your dreams.
Sweep! Hurry! Hurry! Hard! Hurry hard! Hard! Hurry hard! 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 Yeah! We should really be curling.
This ice is everything. It's where I come to feel close to her, to feel whole. This building helped raise me when my mother no longer could. When I step on the ice, she steps with me. My dad is my rock. We are a team now, like the 4 of us when we step on the ice. People say that this isn't a contact sport, but that's not true. It contacts you where you need it the most.
The game with the ice, and the rocks, and the sweeping, and the yelling. Each game starts with a handshake. Then, 2 teams of 4 people take turns throwing 44-pound stones down a sheet of ice. Each team throws 8 rocks, and the team closest to the center after all the rocks are thrown will score the points. This process is repeated for 6 to 10 rounds until one team is victorious. It's just that simple. Or is it?
to Alberta and the Canmore Golf and Curling Club for Draw 20 coverage of the 2021 Canadian Mixed Curling Championship. Darren McEwen alongside Gord Coppathorne. It has been an all Northwest Territories affair so far in the first half of this game, Gord. What would you tell Ontario if you were pep rallying with them at the fourth end break?
The thing they have to try to figure out how to do is change Cooey's pattern. He's letting him have too many shots to start each end to set up what he wants. So you have to pick something different. I don't mind throwing this corner guard again, but your second rock has to be somewhere that Jamie has to respond to it, so he can't just keep piling up the middle.
Ontario's Erica Hobson.
So it's interesting that Cooey actually changed himself. Like, he didn't throw this first one in the top of the house, which is what he has successfully done the last two ends.
Yeah, watching that last end, I mean, Northwest Territories is only up, and I say only 5, but it could have been even more at this point, and there's still a chance. I mean, you have 4 ends to play, 5 rock rule, chance for Ontario to sneak back in. So if you're Northwest Territories, what would you be talking about at the break as a team?
Don't let the end get away from you. Just keep playing simple shots, but try to keep the clutter down. You don't want to mix doubles, 12 rocks, and play end, because that'll blow up and become a 3 before you know it. So keep it simple, keep throwing simple. Simple draws, simple hits, simple guards.
I was reminded at the break, we saw Mike almost have a little tip over from either the rock or Aaron's broom. I'm not sure what it was. I was reminded of Mike's, if you go on YouTube, Mike McLean has a Mike McLean trick shot. I believe it's Julia Weigel put that up on YouTube. Check it out. Maybe in another tab. Don't leave this game. It's not over yet. But Mike does this handstand at the Gordy Perry Bonspiel in Ottawa. 2 rocks sliding on his head. Would not advise anyone to ever try this at home, but it is worth a watch. So he's pretty good on his feet, and he's pretty good in his hands being on his head as well. So the guy's pretty talented in any fashion out there. Mike McLean's trick shot. Not at all legal at all in curling. But fun to watch. There was a Harlem Globetrotters of curling. That would be part of it. So 2 corner guards there for Ontario to start the 5th end.
Yeah, they elected to stick with the double corner guard policy, which has then allowed Cooey to throw, again, 3 shots as his choosing down the middle. The one small crack in the armor is that one's below the tee line. So that is a little less pressure. I still would have liked to have seen them put their draw under that guard to make Jamie respond to something other than another draw down the middle.
Hard, Megan!
2 other games in action tonight. Northern Ontario with a 5-1 record. 1 loss, just like these teams here. They're locked at a 2-2 battle with British Columbia, who are 4-2. That's on the sheet beside us. And over on sheet C, it is Saskatchewan's team from North Battleford, Saskatchewan. Dean Grindheim is 4-3, and he's taking on Alex Forrest of Manitoba. They're 3-4, but they're both tied right now after the 4th end at 2 points apiece. All the scores at curling.ca/scoreboard.
Yep.
So here's that little crack in Cooey's armor, the rock below the tee line. If they can get the red one in between the 2 blues, they're setting up for a potential score.
Hobson and Morrissey will really need to work this to get this to the top 8 foot.
So it's a reasonable spot for a rock. It could come in to be a second point later. It's above the blues. It's all okay.
I would love with any of this.
So this is exactly what I was saying. Is Cooey doesn't want a complicated mixed doublesy kind of end, and that's exactly what's now starting to form. Having said that, their draws down the 4 foot is exactly how they've been scoring.
I don't like any of this.
Well, if you don't like it, get rid of it.
Yeah.
Pretty simple. If you don't like something, the other team probably does.
Northwest Territories has not missed a lot this game.
Well, Ontario has ticked off box 1 on the coaching advice, which is get Jamie doing something other than what he has been doing. So now that freeze to the back blue is still open. exactly like that. Anything in between those two blues is now going to start shifting some pressure onto Jamie's team.
We asked the players some of their accomplishments coming into this, and Kevin said probably one of his biggest accomplishments is getting through the COVID lockdowns with a newborn, a 3-year-old, and a 6-year-old.
Oof, that's a lot of work.
Yep.
And I can appreciate that.
Yeah, I
Hard.
believe his kids
Hard, guys.
were here, might still be in
Real hard.
Canmore.
Keep going.
And,
Yep.
made the trip out to cheer on
Hard.
Dad.
Stay on it. Erica.
What
This
great
is a nice shot.
there by Kevin.
Great
Right
shot.
to the back one. Great freeze.
So Ontario's doing everything they're supposed to. Shake up Cooey's game plan, get some rocks in play,
Even if you
make
peel
a
it and
mess.
he comes here, we're in a lot of trouble.
There's a lot of rocks down there, but they are all lined up from this vantage point
Top four is
behind
good.
the sheet. It looks like one rock, so there's 5 of them all down the center line.
And there's not a real good angle on any of them. It's just going to be rocks splaying outward. So anything on the forefoot is quite protected at this moment.
Whoa! Just top 4.
Seems a little warm.
Close. Whoa! Yeah, whoa! No, is it heavy? No, it's got to die. No, never even look at it.
A nice shot.
That was a beautiful shot by Margot Fleming.
Sweeper's dream, the perfect shot that they didn't have to do anything to.
We do often see players be a little bit warm after the 4th end break with their draw weight, but I think they've all pretty much locked it in this end. Ontario with a beautiful freeze, and Northwest Territories follows it up with another one as well.
So now we're just going to keep throwing rocks into the forefoot, try to create some angle where we can
Just wait.
bang something
Whoa, little
later
wide.
and hopefully sit 2.
Line's getting better. Line's good. Yep, right to it.
It's curling nicely. Weight looks acceptable.
Whoa then.
Just can't
Right to
bounce
it.
off
Yep,
of anything at this
Hard
point.
line. Hard, right to it. Little bounce is okay. Okay.
So we've created almost a straight line, which isn't ideal for red. That blue is going to take 2 rocks to get it out. But at least we have 2 reds in the forefoot. Now Jamie's going to go back to his favorite land of throwing guards. They've done a lot of really good ones, so why not?
Keep it out there. Line's good.
So they're sweeping it a little on the earlier side
Doesn't look
to
tight.
hold the line at the start. They'd rather a wide guard than one getting too tight to the middle again, because the ultimate goal is
Clean.
to cut off the draw.
It's fine. No, it's got to. Whoa.
Starting to bend.
My girl.
Good shot.
That is a granite train.
Again, there's not a lot of good angles, so the question's going to be, what can Mike
Right
do
beside it.
to try to get at that blue one? So he's asking for a really precise edge of the button draw, which would be a good way of doing it.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, they don't have much anywhere else to get down there.
Hit what?
Aaron's going to come down to discuss it.
I really don't mind Aaron going down to have this conversation, because if they don't get this rock in a great spot, Cooey's just going to keep plugging things up. So the question is, how can you give yourself a few options or whatever? Could you move rocks in some manner? There's a lot of granite to move if you want to change those angles. That is definitely the downside right now.
Get a good listen here to these two.
That with like running this, getting that.
No, right on the nose.
Exactly, and then at least have off.
Yeah, that's not bad. I like that. Yeah, have this come over here. Sure.
So it looks like they are going to try and
Yeah, right on the
jiggle
nose.
this train of
Throw control.
stones around. Just control weight is the call from Mike.
Like you said, this is playing out almost like mixed doubles, but you have to change the angles right now because you don't have a viable way of getting that blue one out.
Yeah, just 3 Ontario stones to come. They're down 5. They need to generate a deuce to really stay in this game at this point. Erin Morrissey, her second stone of the fifth end.
Yep. Whoa, whoa.
So a little on the strong side of control.
Close.
Trying to get to nose.
Yep, yep, yep. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Pretty close.
That's good.
Well, that blue stone is now a factor for both teams. That punched it out to the left or right on the screen you're looking at here.
And we've got a nice line of reds that are, there's one off the screen that you can't see, but there's a kind of a 3-rock line of reds that could be used. You've got an in off from the blue. There are choices now. So I think that was the right call, just to change up what you were looking at.
Erin curled a number of years with Kathy Auld in Ontario. They had success getting to the Ontario Scotties. Her uncle actually is Rich Moffat, who not only has been to a Brier in past years, but he also represented Ontario at this event in 1996. And of course, Erin herself represented Ontario in junior nationals. Timeout here called by Northwest Territories.
Well, kudos to Ontario for shifting gears and making Jamie think. There's a lot of different ways that you can get rocks moving. So my gut feeling with Jamie is that you would be well off to try to get another one into the top of the 4-foot. You could try to guard to cut some of the motion down, but you would also be very well served to just get more of yours close to the middle, so that scoring 2 is a possibility, but not more.
Like that's.
Let's see what they discuss here with their.
Well, let's take it out. You can throw a hit and roll off it, yeah. Yeah, like this. But if he makes it like this, he might spin out. I'm just worried that he's gonna. Yeah, if he can make this and get 3. He can make this and have 4 in the rings to our 1. Maybe 2 if we don't leave that one alone. But that's the one. If he gets it to here. Okay.
So that stone, you can't quite see it in that shot there, but it is a corner guard, Ontario corner guard that
Be ideal to
Northwest Territories is looking to just deal with, get it out of the way. It looks like they're playing, I believe, Gord, a hit and roll off of it.
Yeah, they're basically just trying to clutter the middle and get rid of this potential steep angle shot. Because right now, they could throw that red into the pile, and almost anything they hit is going to make a better situation for them. So that long angle is something you can easily remove and then still clutter up the middle some more.
But back to your original earlier point in this end, they are making the Kui team play a different style, even if they're still, Ontario's still chasing. They've changed the type of shots Northwest Territories has to play. They're not just lobbing up guards this end.
Yes! Correct, and they've actually, though complicated, made more opportunities out of it.
Yeah. And Kui makes the shot he called, hit and roll.
Same weight.
So now you've got the kind of straight back triple.
Yeah, like this one comes off here.
Blue will bounce, but you're just trying to release it.
Hopefully it squirts that
You have
out a
2
bit.
shots left, and it's going to take both of them to get that blue out of there.
Good. Look, you just finished up and nothing crazy.
Unfortunately, that blue one to the left side, as we're looking at it towards the crowd, is just a little too high for a respectable, double take, basically.
Yeah, the
It's possible.
If you really needed to, you could give it a try, but there's no sense trying it right now.
No, again, this is about trying to give yourself a couple of different ways to get at it on your last one.
Mike McLean's first stone, the Ontario skip in this 5th end. Has hammer and wanting to get on the board with a couple points at least this end.
It's not curling.
He's a little wide with a decent amount of weight, so it's going to sit there for him.
Hasn't changed much here. The hole is a bit bigger down the middle.
Red, I guess, eh?
I'm not sure that even that hole is going to be a whole lot of use, because you're going to be slashing it across your red one, which is just going to pound the blue one into the back red. You really want wanted to just kind of get those reds to rearrange so that you could have done an in-off off of that blue one for 3 or 4.
Team discussion here.
He's got the blue. He's got the blue. Pick the blue. Right.
Blue to pick the blue.
Like my 5? Does he not have
Correct. So he's basically saying there's a blue one out front, and
Throw a guard with it.
you have a very thin double that looks kind of like that.
It's there, but I think it's the only shot that Ontario has at this point, isn't it, Gord?
Yeah, so he's going to do basically cross the center line guard to cover that one up, and then say, you figure out a way in.
And then we might actually see the very, very thin redirect off that blue one in the house, but that is a 1 in 100 shot.
Well, yeah, because you're trying to hit the back of the bottom blue one, which is a tough call, to say the least.
Jamie Cooey's last rock of the 5th end in a comfortable position. Has the steal on the button. And with very few options for Ontario to remove it, he will try and guard one of those options here with a guard on the Ontario stone.
So a nice cross-center guard to cut off that difficult blue run back.
Yeah, that is.
I think this is there for 3.
So is he looking, Mike, looking at playing the
clip that?
He's looking at the in-off, basically.
They'll probably lose a shooter.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think
We don't have much else, I don't think.
I don't know if we can get hot.
Now the question is going to be the turn, because you want this to come down really steep and kind of catch the back half of that rock. So you're probably going to require to play the... if you want to get as steep as you can, you should actually be playing it with the out turn, which is what he's identified, because the out turn will come off at a steeper angle than the in turn.
So he needs to clear Hayes Rock that's top button.
There should be plenty of space there. If he clears the top guard and catches about, well, it's looking like about a quarter, then you should spin down and hope to just pick that blue one out.
Kind of the way it's been for Ontario tonight. Mike McLean settles in the hack here, facing a Northwest Territories counter on the button, needing some magic for the team for the Ottawa Curling Club. A thin redirect off a counter, or off a stone in the 8 foot into the button.
Past the guard, little piece.
Oh, just comes over the top of his other one, and it will be another steal for Jamie Cooey and his foursome from Yellowknife. It is a 6-0 advantage as we head to the 6th end of play. Update you on the other games at this minute. It's still a 2-2 tie between Northern Ontario and BC as they play the 6th end. And Saskatchewan has put a deuce on the board in the 5th end to pull ahead of Manitoba. They're Saskatchewan now leading 4-2 as they play the 6th end. Our game a little bit behind some of the others. It's definitely been a little bit more complicated particularly for Ontario to sort out some of their calls. They faced a lot of granite throughout these ends.
So Cooey's calling this into the house again, which is what I would have expected. Makes Ontario make their decisions and gets you in a position of owning the 4-foot.
Should mention we'll be back on the air tomorrow morning. It will be a seeding pool game at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. That one will be against host Alberta. Craig McAlpine will be taking on Newfoundland and Labrador. Again, 10 a.m. Mountain. And these teams, a little bit different for their schedule coming up. We have Ontario back in action tomorrow night, so they get a bit of time off. They'll play Northern Ontario, and that will be the feature match tomorrow night at 7 Mountain. Northwest Territories is off on Friday. They're back in action on Saturday afternoon, 2 p.m. Mountain against New Brunswick. You can find all the scores at curling.ca/scoreboard.
Now comes the corner guard, setting this up again.
Yep.
If he wants to play the double corner, I would actually like to see him play the stacked on one side for a change, because playing the 2 corners keeps cutting off his draw pass to the 4-foot. There's so much swing on this sheet.
It's a little tighter path. Okay, It's running now. You got it. Bump it a hair.
So Jamie's putting them both in the house to start this
Hold
end.
it straight then.
The more of a
I don't
lead
wanna
he
stay,
gets,
please.
the
Bump
more
it, bump it.
he's going to avoid guards, because guards are going to be his nemesis.
Okay.
So now Ontario's going to throw the split guards. The idea being that you could then roll either side of the house under a guard. But the danger, of course, is that you don't have a draw path in if you get them too close to the center. This one's a little warm. Should stop.
Okay.
So now Jamie has an interesting
What
little
am I-
problem. That's a double wide rock.
this a bit.
So throwing a guard's actually not going to be a whole lot of a benefit. So he's just going to throw more rocks into
I
the
know.
house. He's not against Ontario scoring a 2 if they muster it in this end.
Clean it.
These are 8 end games here at the Mixed
Hard.
Nationals. So time running a little bit out for Ontario in this game. They're really going to need to hang a crooked number on the board this end.
Yeah, 2 is almost unacceptable at this point, because then you'd have to steal 2 and steal 2. So now you can either push Blues behind the T line for backing, you could attempt the long roll. Above all else, you don't really want to be removing rocks. You just want to push Blue back and get yours hiding.
Don't do that.
Corner freeze on the top 4 foot, that's acceptable. Again, it'll give you a chance to bounce things around later.
Let's play the weight.
It's all there. They're saying it's got plenty of weight.
Yeah, just let it grind.
Nothing
Wide
from
two.
Hobson and Morrissey yet.
Okay.
This has the kiss and roll off thing going.
Kiss of death you've talked about a few times, Gordon. That was it.
Feel this?
It's a fun way to tell it to juniors because it emphasizes the danger in that. Nothing good comes out of bouncing off the side of a freeze.
Cole Parsons was at the hog line by the time that rock stopped. He's very fast in his pre-shot routine, but very effective too.
Rolling out is a good idea. No need for more rocks.
Throw a hack. Shuffle them around. Hack.
I'm curious what his game plan is with his shooter. He identified, let's just move stuff around, but I would like to think you're going to try to get a shooter to sit in front of something.
Yep. Hard. Whoa. Yeah, that's good.
It's a strong hack, so now we're going to go for the roll.
Yeah, roll it.
Ontario will roll into the house. Still open, though, for Northwest Territories to remove it.
Small breakdown in communication there. Had they early on identified that we were definitely board weight, then you could have just played that roll under and actually made a quite nice roll. Just missed it a little bit.
Yep. Clean. Yes. Hard call. Clean. Yep.
Cole Parsons
Right to it,
leaned
right to
on
it, right
that,
to it.
held it very straight all the way down.
Good.
So still trying to come up with a way to keep your rocks in the house. There's a little wedge of Blues you can get onto the inside of. You could attempt the roll again. Not likely to get you more than a 2, but it is an option.
Yep. Hard. Whoa, then. Whoa. Whoa.
Calling
Yep, yep,
7,
yep.
so that's T-line.
Hard.
So
Yep.
that'll push the blue one a little
Real
bit. But
hard.
the key is to keep it
it's
inside
gone.
of that kind of wedge of blues. That was not a bit of it. Not that wasn't actually a 7, but as we had said earlier, as you had identified, the 7th end is really when we're seeing that
Come on, get rid of
6
this
feet
pocket
less
here.
weight appearing.
Yep. We are in the third draw of the day
Please
here
go
in
right here.
Canmore. The ice is held up very nice.
Same weight.
But I think the
Look at
players
that, like a nose. Hair high's fine.
figure that out fastest, or at least I think they've all figured it out in the championship pool. It's a matter of making the adjustment. You know, how much do you give extra in terms of that? We saw that in that last game. It was a Cooey in particular between Cooey and Grindheim from Saskatchewan. Really, like, who could get that draw weight in that, particularly in the 8th end.
Cute little pick shot there. Not actually what Cooey was after, because you still have that V-shaped wedge of rocks you can hide yours in.
Yeah.
He was actually hoping to just kind of push the blue one across and spread them out. So they're calling back house with the weight, so we'll see if it grinds down like the other one.
Okay, close.
Sweeper's calling a 9.
Yep.
Now a 7.
And this is where it starts to drop its weight.
Whoa. I just don't.
Oh, wow.
It's good.
That's a nice little shot.
Yeah. Touched every rock in the house.
Does it hit it? Pretty
You can
thin,
still
no?
get it out, but at least it's harder to get it out sitting
I think
there.
we're going to see a Jamie Cooey
Don't
peel
know, I
weight.
don't know if I can get that.
Well, maybe
If I hit
not.
half, it doesn't go. Why don't I just throw a heater and try to get rid of it?
The more rocks moving, the happier he is.
Out.
Spread the blues out, get the red out of the
Try to nose
house.
it with a bomb.
Throwing the
I'm gonna
bomb,
huck
as
this
you
one.
put it.
The bomb. This one's headed for Banff, folks.
Right through us.
Wants to make sure he hits the red one first, though. If he does get either of those blue, that red one is not going anywhere. Jamie Cooey is first. It's a bomb. Oh, it is.
Whoa!
Look at this.
Whoa!
Well done to the camera crew for keeping up for that, and it's a beautiful shot.
Yep. Squirt it right out the side.
I would not advise doing or trying that approach of like just, you know, it looked like a push for Jamie, but my gosh, was
I
it
think you have to
accurate?
hit it.
Like that was not a simple
roll
shot.
there.
You had to hit that red one first.
Kevin Martin impersonation.
Yeah, or Kevin Cooey. I guess with the throw, yeah.
Control.
Great shot. And Northwest Territories now has a fortress out front. 3 sisters, 3 blues.
Yeah, one blue on every peak.
Yeah.
So red has lots of backing.
Control. Little hit and roll on top.
It's going to be hard to get rid of all those blue ones to make that count. though.
Yeah, if this was earlier in the end, Ontario would use this to their advantage, but they've really got to make these rocks move now.
Correct. You almost need to hit one and try to get up onto the edge of another one so that a hit just bounces into the middle.
Whoa, whoa. Ah.
Really,
Right on the nose.
really tough to make this one.
Right on the nose for Ontario.
So now, if that red one had rolled just a hair to our
As long as I hit high,
left,
we're good, eh?
then Jamie hitting it would just bank
Come
into
here,
the other
more.
blue. And then you
But
get a
I just
decent
can't
shot at
cross
the
it.
two. Just needed
Even
to
if I'm
curl it a
wide,
little bit
it
for him.
goes off that other one. Just regular peel.
As opposed to the bomb peel.
Yeah, a bomb.
That thing over there. Yeah, just gotta be a hair high here. Clean.
He likes it out of his hand, just a clean for Cole Parsons.
That should make the red one disappear.
And a blue one with it. But Ontario faced with the decision now. They
All right.
down 6.
Just knows it. Give me
So
some
they're
ice for
just going to
control.
play for the nose hit to get on the scoreboard.
What?
in our other game,
Just gonna nose and. You guys okay with that? Nose?
see a conversation there of whether.
Why?
Erica said she's not sure if they're allowed to shake. I believe they are after 6 ends, but that's the discussion in the hack right now is whether they can shake or not. So, but in the other game next to us, British Columbia cracked a 2 in the 6th end, so they stole a 2 actually. They're up 4-2 right now on Northern Ontario, and it's a 4-4 tie still in the Manitoba-Saskatchewan game. Mike McLean will hit.
Roll
out, and
it's kind of the way this night's gone for them, right?
Blank end, and that's there's a little bit of discussion here on whether to continue.
I think they're clarifying the rules with the official.
All right, so we'll keep going here. Rule is you do have to play 7 ends, 6 if you're down by 7. But I will say curling is one of those sports, very few sports that you can concede early, but there'll be a chance for both these teams to maybe get draw weight, get some peels in if you're Northwest Territories, and have a few laughs along the way. I think both teams are pretty loose at this point.
You're now looking forward to tomorrow.
Yeah. And well, Jamie Cooey's really looking forward to tomorrow. He's got it off.
Day off.
And he's had a great day today winning both his games. But yeah, Ontario too, like, you know, end with maybe a bit of confidence here.
Like your feels here.
We think back on this game, there's
Okay,
the
that's
scoreboard
good,
is, I would say, like for the first part of the game, was not necessarily indicative of the play. Ontario was making a few half shots here and there. Northwest Territories making everything though, but Ontario was, you know, just getting kind of on the wrong side of the inch on a few shots. But there was one in the second end by Mike that was just a little heavy on his draw that resulted in a steal for Northwest Territories. And it's, you know, Northwest Territories has played a phenomenal game.
They've done a really fantastic job of managing their weights. Having any kind of a mistake or a miss was small mistakes, small misses that still left things in useful places. And by the simplicity of their shots, it forced Ontario into difficult scenarios and hard shots.
Yeah, Mike had a number of pretty difficult skinny doubles, angle run-backs for his, but
I think Northern Ontario.
in hindsight, I think Ontario would have liked to, kind of what we said after the fourth end break, put a little pressure on Jamie, a rock earlier each end so that he couldn't set up what he had been doing so well.
Hung myself after we lost it. Ontario. Hung myself after we lost it.
You under 8?
We lost it to Ontario.
Jamie's
Had a little
really
little short
managing
run
the
to
rocks this end. He keeps asking Cole to throw different rocks of his depending on what he's expecting to have to do.
I had a real bad game. Yeah, I missed a real short run. Yeah.
Well, we're through the 5-rock rule. Things are actually kind of backwards from usual. Ontario has thrown 2 center guards and is now going to go around those even though they have hammer. Looks pretty good, actually. And then Jamie's going to start peeling.
so I mentioned tomorrow morning we'll have the seeding pool game in the morning. Nunavut actually versus Yukon. But in the afternoon for our championship game, it will be on the featured television game, 2 p.m. Mountain, New Brunswick versus Northern Ontario. And then tomorrow evening, we'll have Northern Ontario, a Battle of Ontario, Northern Ontario versus this Ontario rink at 7 p.m. Mountain. Find all the scores at curling.ca/scoreboard.
Yep. 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 You're good. You're good.
straight peel. Ontario just continuing to throw rocks down the middle. See if they can't make a respectable 2 this end.
Interesting if things end the way they are right now out there on the ice, it would be Northwest Territories that would be the top of the standings clear, as Northern Ontario right now is trailing by 2, and of course they're beating Ontario, so all 3 of those teams have just 1 loss.
End to end. What turn you want?
Coast to Coast by Erica Hobson on the sweep. Jamie having a chuckle.
Electing just a straight peel. No reason to get cute. You could technically throw it down into the pile and get everything moving, but no reason to. Just clear off the front.
Good. Good throw.
We don't have to be down 7 after this end, do we?
Mike just clarifying with Jamie the rule. No, after 7 you can shake at any point. But they are sitting 2 right now. Gonna lob another one in there to sit 3.
Bounce off that one.
Nose double, I guess.
Just keep eliminating rocks.
Whoa. Clean. Whoa.
1, 2, gone. And her shooter will roll to a biter.
Can't even hide behind that one. That's a nice spot for it to roll to. See if you can't tuck a piece underneath of it and fool Jamie into chasing you.
Back here. Yep. Just wait. Just wait. Yep.
It's definitely going to be underneath of it.
Yep. Hard.
Be a
Keep
great
going. Keep
shot.
going. Hard, Erica.
Erica's
That is
got
a really
coast to
nice
coast
draw.
on a lot of them tonight.
Perfect.
And looks like it might be second shot.
Jamie's not going to take the bait. He's just going to hit the easy one.
Actually, throw normal.
The idea being to move his rocks over that way to cluster everything together to throw more hits at.
Give me less. Give me like mid. Normal. Whoa. Yep. Whoa. Yes. Yep.
Okay, that makes the hit
Over there.
difficult. So he's just going to throw it underneath of that blue one. 2 reds underneath of 2 blues, and maybe you end up with a double for 3.
Hey. Back 8.
Certainly making the best out of the situation.
Yep.
You got 2 rocks you can technically hide behind.
Looks a bit
Back
strong
8.
out of his hand, but
Yep.
Was going deep with this one.
yeah.
The depth isn't really the problem. Like you want to be shot rock, but that's not really the key. The key is to make sure that you're definitely underneath of that blue one, so that he has to play something cute.
Yeah, sweepers thought that was, I think, a little deeper than it was to start with, but great shot for Mike McLean to put that where he wanted it to go.
Like mid. Just throw it in the 8-foot and well.
Throw it in the 8-foot, Jamie says.
Yeah, no reason to hit it.
Yeah.
He's
We're 1,
first
2,
and
so-
third.
Or no, I mean 2-3.
2-3.
Oh, they think that back red
gotta be
one's
neat
out,
with
so
this
even
one.
less reason.
Yeah.
So throw another one in the house and say, you figure out how to get rid of all the blues.
Stuff here, right?
Jamie Cooey, his last rock of this 7th end. Ontario has hammer. Cooey up 6-0 right now. It has been
looks
all
close.
Northwest Territories in this one.
Got room. Room. Line's good. Yep, yep.
So, but the only don't on this is don't throw it through.
Room.
Line looks
guys.
great. Just to cap off a great night for them. Cooey locks on a nice corner freeze. What a
When you're
game.
hot, roll with it, right?
I don't think I have a triple, eh? Yeah, play the double.
All right, they're going to try the double on the rock
in
just
the middle of
above
the
the top of the screen there.
Pretty much straight back. You should get 2 out of that.
No triple. I don't think we need a triple for 3.
Northern Ontario was forced to a single in the 7th end. So coming home in that game, British Columbia has hammer up by 1. In our game, Mike McLean, his final rock. The Ontario team looking to cap off this game to get on the board with a double takeout. Not quite, and it will be a steal of 1 and a 7-0 win for Jamie Cooey and his foursome from the Yellowknife Curling Club. They will improve to 7-1 after draw 17 of the Canadian Mixed Curling Championship. Ontario drops to 6-2. Both teams still very much in the playoff hunt. You can check out scores from the other 2 draws at curling.ca/scoreboard. For Gord Coppathorne, Gord, and Darren McEwen, thanks so much for joining us today on an absolutely thrilling day of curling here from Canmore. Join us tomorrow as we continue coverage from the 2021 Canadian Mixed Curling Championship.